Hey everyone, welcome to this installment of Kwani Has Questions. As you can see, I have a guest this week. James Michael Cummings is an actor, producer, writer, in film, you name it, he's done it. Also, most importantly, from South Boston. So thank you for giving me some time today.
Well, thank you for having me, Kwani. I really appreciate it. I don't know how. Thank you for introducing me. I don't know how I do any of those things, but I guess I do
It was
them
all a lie.
Yeah.
All right, let's just get back to the beginning, though. You are from Boston. That is definitely a fact. What was your upbringing like here?
I think it was like everybody's upbringing here. Actually, it was. Growing up, I was born in South Boston, and we had moved to Hyde Park, very tight knit community, and I'd gone to Savarian Brothers High School. Worked at the Boston Garden. And when I was 19 years old, I found myself wanting to become an actor, and I had taken some classes, and the reality was I was told I had to go to New York City if I wanted to become an actor. And so I moved to New York. I took my chances. I went to New York City, and I think it might have been the best thing I ever did.
We basically did a life swap because I'm from the New York area, and you came there, you went there, I came here. So what was the time like in New York of trying to break into the world of film? Because obviously it's not the easiest route.
Well, I'll tell you that it's difficult when you move to New York. The minute I got to New York, no matter where I went, I'd say, can I have a stick of gum? And they'd say, oh, where are you from in Boston? So I had such a heavy Boston accent that, it took me years and years to even be able to tame it a little bit so that people could understand me. So it was an interesting thing. It wasn't until I moved to Los Angeles and then I went back to New York where people would never ask me that question again,
No, that's a really good point. Again, with TV, it's similar. The accents kind of give you away a lot of times. And to your point, if you want to be successful in this industry, a lot of times they'll say, find a way to have a voice that's not necessarily recognizable to a specific region. But that, I feel like that's kind of unfair too, because to your point, would you say that's kind of like the identity of Bostonians in some way too?
Well, it is the identity of Bostonians,
Yeah.
but the important thing though is when you become an actor or when you want to perform, you want to embody a character, right? So your goal is to learn how the greats did it and be like the greats. Your goal is to be able to read something and know what it's about and to be able to envision it and bring it to life. So I think that the journey from Boston to New York was letting go of that mold that I'd spent my whole life building. You spend a whole life building to protect yourself from all the things you've been warned about growing up. And there's a point where you got to let all the walls down and you have to be vulnerable and you have to figure out, well, what am I going to do in this art? So I become an actor and, then it was weird because I could get in plays and I became a successful stage actor, but I couldn't really get in movies. And, I had come up with an idea to write a movie called Southie, and I had my good friend Dave McLaughlin from West Roxbury, and we got together, we wrote that screenplay, and then we made that movie with Donnie Wahlberg and Rose McGowan, Amanda Peet, Will Arnett. We did that movie, and that was coming back home to Boston and doing that, and and then of course I was living out in Los Angeles, and I put together the movie The Fighter. And I actually did a series called Workaholics, which was interesting because I worked with those guys who were from San Francisco. I was from Boston, but I knew these guys who did Workaholics were absolutely incredibly funny. And I knew how to put that together for them. And that's what brings us to like this movie here. I made 3 movies this year. I think Boston taught me how to be tough. New York taught me how to be smart. And LA taught me how to be creative. So you put all those things together and you realize that if you want to make movies or you want to be in show business, you want to do something, then you have to learn how to do it all. So I raised all the money. I produced the movies and I work with incredibly great people who are smarter than me. And I think that I learned that growing up. Like I learned to work with people that are better than you and then to work for them and to help them. And then someday they'll ask you to work with them. And then someday they might even work for you. So that's kind of been my journey. And
Yeah.
I love it. And growing up in Boston was the greatest thing for me. And now I get to come back here and bring a movie, not another church movie, which is really interesting because it's a spoof movie on all the urban church films.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I was giving that movie to people wanting them to make it because it was so good. You know, because you look at the movie, you saw the movie, you know, I'm this white guy from Boston. What's he doing making this movie? It's like, I'm making that movie because it's friggin' hilarious, right? And the one thing that we want to do is we want to unite everybody, right? You want to make a movie that everyone can go to, everybody can laugh,
Right?
right?
Build community.
So Johnny Mack, who wrote this movie, this is his interpretation of like politics and you know how he feels about all these movies. And he's a really funny, tough guy comedian. He's just Jamie Foxx's best buddy. Yep. He's, you know, written all his stuff. And when I read it, I knew it was raw. Like I read it, I was like, dude, this is raw. But I knew if I could work with him and develop it, we could make a great movie, right? So I learned to be a storyteller in Boston. In New York City, I learned how to become a writer. Well, Dave McLaughlin taught me how to become a writer. And then I became a writer, right? And then, you know, after working with like Andrei Barkoviak, great filmmaker, director, he taught me how to write for the camera, right? And then it was like, there was just one point a few years ago when I realized my biggest problem is I always have my half of the money. No one ever has their half. Then I just started going out and getting all the money. I said, forget about getting half. Let me get all the money. And I first get the money to sell it before I get the money to make it. So once you kind of figure those things out, you know.
If you want something done right, you got to do it yourself.
If you want something done right, you got to follow someone who does it right, and then you got to do it yourself.
And then do it yourself. That's very well said. Very well said. Yeah. So we're definitely going to get into the movie, Not Another Church Movie, which is coming out May 10th. We'll get into that in just a second. But before we do, we were talking about your career journey, but another passion that you've developed on the side is Journey Forward. It's your nonprofit that's dedicated to the lives of people that have suffered with spinal cord injuries. How did that nonprofit come about?
You know, my brother Dan had an unfortunate accident when he was 19 years old. He was out with friends. He dove into a lake, and you know, he broke his neck. And you know, he said he'd never feed himself again. He'd never be independent, and you know that made him furious. And he was determined, no matter what, to find a way to get well. And you know, I was his biggest. I believed in him more than anybody. But and I raised a bunch of money for him, and but it was like there was so much that he had to do to be able to do this. And part of it was moving out to California, and I was living there. And you know, he wanted me to help him, so I was like, okay, so like this is where you know a brother takes a risk, you know, and. You know, I went on a journey with that kid, and he had a belief, man. He had a dream, and he found a therapy that he thought could help him, and he gave it his all. And you know what it did, man? It did. And he wanted to give back, and he had an idea and a plan on how to do it. And I just wanted to help him in any way that I could. And, you know, him and I went out and we did everything we could to raise money. And now he runs that organization. It's the most successful spinal cord injury facility in the world. It's not affiliated with a hospital. You know, I'm at Ernie Bach's house right now. He doesn't want me to tell you that, but I'm telling you anyway. I'm at his house right now, and you know, he's a huge supporter of Journey Forward. He's always like showing up for us and for people with spinal cord injuries. And you know, he does it quietly. He doesn't like that I'm doing this. I don't care, but he does it quietly. And it's guys like him that have shown up, and they bring their support, and it helps organizations like that, and then it helps people that the unforgotten minority. This is the forgotten minority. It's the people in wheelchairs that you try to run by when you go into the ball game or whatever. So, you know, my brother, when this happened to him, it was if something can ruin a person, this did it. And if I can tell you his story inspired me to realize that even though I had to get back into my career later, once I took a break, it was hard to get back in. I knew I could make it happen again. You know what I mean? And now I'm so grateful for my journey because there's nothing I can't do. And I know that I can do whatever I want to do. And it's because of the things that I was taught growing up, and now the things that I've experienced in my life. And now this movie, that we're about to do. So we're making a donation to Journey Forward. We came into town to do a special screening for just people in Boston in general, and to make a donation to Journey Forward. And my brother will be there tonight. There's going to be a special screening tonight. But the movie comes out on May 10th, and it stars Kevin Daniels. Now, Kevin Daniels was in Ladder 49. He's done all the New York shows. He's on Frasier, the reboot. He stars in this film. He plays Ma Dude Hims in Taylor Harry. The P is
sounds
not
familiar. Those names seem familiar a little bit.
Yeah. And, and he played Larry Bird on Broadway. I mean, he played Magic Johnson on Broadway.
I was going to say, how did that work out?
No, he played Magic Johnson
Okay.
on Broadway. But you know what? I'm going to bring him over here.
Bring him in real
He
quick.
happens to be with me, and he's the star of this show. So let's get over it. Kevin Daniels.
I love that this turned into a dual interview. I'm a big fan.
I'm sorry,
He didn't plan for this, but we got him.
Larry Bird, that's what I heard.
Yeah, does he look like Larry?
I was going to say, how did you play Larry Bird? I'm not sure how to.
Special effects and makeup, so they come a long way, baby. They come a long way.
It's like white chicks all over.
That's the shows. Thank you for checking out the movie.
Yeah, thank you guys for giving me some time. Kevin, since you are here, I would love to hear what the experience was like. Not only the conception, you reading the script, but then also playing out the role.
But I had a blast, man. I grew up with these movies. My mom, they'd watch the Medea films, and they'd love them. And it's just kind of funny that I've never got a chance to work with Tyler Perry, but it's great to be able to pay homage to all the great comedies that he's created and all the work that he's made. And I got mad respect for him, man. That wig is hot. The wig is hot.
Look, the way you were sweating in the film was unmatched.
I know, right? It's really great.
But I think you bring up a really good point. You mentioned growing up watching Tyler Perry films. I can say the same. It was playing in the house as well. So being that you did understand the cultural significance of Tyler Perry and what he's done for the world of film, how did you approach playing his role, the role of Tyler Perry?
That I gave as much deference to what he did and what he created, and it's really I didn't even attempt to try to do the voice that he did, because I was like, I'm gonna try to make this my spin and my version on it, and my dude has her own version, same cadence, the same idea, but it wanted to be a little bit of a parody of it, so this is what I got. But I just really enjoyed getting an idea to just kind of have an unfiltered look and view of the worlds. And I think it'll appeal to everyone. You come in, you're like, oh, I know somebody just like that, or my grandmother was like that, or my mom was like that, or my second cousin's maid was like that, whatever it is.
Right. It is mentioned in the description that it is a satirical film. It even says not a Tyler Perry movie. Right. But what do you hope the takeaway is for people that either want to laugh with his work?
I want people to come and laugh. I think we've all gone through a pretty hard few years with the pandemic, with everyone's just trying to make it, and I think that this is a great escape to kind of come and see. We can, find our humanity. We can laugh at it. We can laugh at some of the mistakes that we all make. And I think it's a fun little movie. It's Mother's Day. Take your Mother's Day. I'm gonna go out and enjoy it. May 10th as we come out.
Right. And I will say I did watch it, but I was watching it by myself, and I was talking to one of our directors that's sitting over there, and she was like, this is definitely something where, like you mentioned, Mother's Day. Yeah. I think you need to be in a room full of people.
You need a room full of people to really to get it, to get the laugh.
Yeah.
Right.
We did a screening in New York City, and the theater was packed, and man, did they laugh. It was like a roller coaster ride. It was
really great to see the audience get into it and get the references, and people who had known a lot of them films would see very specific references. It all happened so quickly.
Yes. You have to pick it up if you know. Yeah,
but if you know.
Right.
But we've got to run. But I'm so glad that you took the time to talk to us. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah. I want to finalize with Jimmy real quick, though. You can head off, Kevin. I know you got to go. Thank you for stopping by.
Of course.
But Jimmy, for you, I'll wrap this up very shortly. But what do you think will be the reaction from a Tyler Perry and an Oprah if they haven't seen it already, or even if you've talked to them about it?
Oh, they're gonna have to love it. I mean,
right.
They're gonna love it. It's fun. It's fun doing it. It was fun making it. When we developed it, we made sure that we were creating entertainment. That's what it's all about. the world of business, as you know, it's like when a pandemic happens, yeah, everyone watches the news. We all get caught up in loops of things. And what we need to get caught back up in is going to the movies and having a good time and sharing moments with people and sharing laughs. So that was our goal. That's what we wanted to do. We knew it from the beginning. You know, Kevin Daniels, like, it's great that he's here. He's here promoting this picture. He's here showing up for these people. You know,
Speaking of, Jimmy, we got to get the kids.
We got to go. Listen, we're going over to the Condon house. We're going over to Southie. Kevin's going to go over and talk to all those kids. And, you know, what I want people to do is to go out, go to the movies, have a good time, you know, tweet their friends, tell everybody to go see this movie. It's a cultural event of the year.
Well, Jimmy, I know you have to run and go talk to those kids, so I appreciate you giving us some time. And as you mentioned, the movie, Not Another Church Movie, is coming out May 10th.